Happy MLK Day.
Happy MLK Day.
All right, questions for Coach?
Okay, so you get two guys on the American, one on the honor roll, freshman of the week, and DJ, and also Precious, who keeps doing what Precious does. So how you feeling about that?
Feel very proud of both those guys. Obviously, it's a total team effort, but those guys' individual talents are coming out in the process of us doing things the right way.
What is it that made that got Precious to the point where now it's almost he's an automatic walking double-double? At the beginning of the year, was he in James's shadow, and then James was gone, they had to learn how to play without him? How is about that?
I don't know if it's about being in his shadow. I think it's about things kind of slowing down and not being so fast. I think that's what I always say about the freshmen. You come in and you want to play a certain way. Precious wanted to play on the perimeter when he first got here. He wanted to take a bunch of jump shots, wanted to show that he had a floor game, and on this level, he just needed to be who he was. And right now, it's doing everything really well, focusing mainly more on 90% in the paint and maybe 10% on the perimeter. We don't stop him from bringing the ball up the court, but basically, everything kind of slowed down for him. He started understanding who he was on this level and started understanding the system, and things started helping him.
Was it an acceptance thing for him?
Yeah, he had to accept not wanting to be on the perimeter and wanting to be more in the post. Because when the first time I tried to put him at the 5 spot, he did not like that. You could just tell he was kind of pouting a little bit in the preseason when we had to put him there. And now he welcomes that because he understands that he is not a 5-man. He's just playing the game to win.
Go ahead, John.
And you think DJ is he's ready to hit that stride now? This is what we can expect.
Yeah, well, DJ was playing pretty good basketball before he got sick, right before the Georgia game. I think a lot of people around the country don't know him enough, but people around here, he's shown that he's worthy of being one of the top, mentioned with the top freshmen around the country because he brings a lot to the table.
The
After the
disruptions
last
like
game,
that,
it-
like with DJ getting sick, James leaving the team, Lester getting hurt, how difficult has that made it for you to have a consistent rotation that you kind of know game in and game out?
Well, it's been difficult, but we've been able to handle it because we had a deep bench. Guys could just step right in. Obviously, those are key pieces. James, of course, Lester when he went down with the hand injury, and then DJ getting sick. I mean, those are almost unreplaceable pieces. But as a group, collectively, guys stepped in. Tyler Harris upped his point total. Alex Lomax was playing really well, and Precious upped his total. So, and then Damian and Boogie and those guys were adding wherever they could. On the offensive end and defensively, everybody was playing well.
After that last game, Precious was saying how Malcolm being on the floor made it easier for him to do things on the court. Is that something you're going to do more, have them on the floor together?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, Malcolm is still trying to come back from injury. He's still not 100%, but he's starting to hit a better stride now. We figured around January, February, he'd be hitting a better stride. And he makes everyone else better because he can do so many things on the defensive end and offensive end.
On the scale of 0 to 100, where would you say Malcolm is right now?
I would still say anywhere between 70 and 75%. He's still not at 100, anywhere near 100 where he's going to be because he's more active when he's healthy, and I'm sure that will come. But right now I'm going to say 70, 75%.
When you go into a game, do you come in your mind because of after you've scouted whatever opponent you're in, like these are the guys I'm going to bring in these situations, or is it more of a feel thing as the game is going when you're making decisions like that?
I try to be consistent on when the rotations happen so guys know when they're going to go into games. And that's how it starts early. And then as the game goes, I start kind of getting a feel for who has what for certain situations with certain groups that they have on the floor.
When you look at the standings and you see Tulsa's leading the conference, does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't surprise me because I understand the flow of what they do and what they do with that zone. They sprint back every time. They're very active in the zone. They take charges in the zone. They force you into bad shots and then they box out. So it's kind of been a perfect storm for them to. They didn't have it in non-conference because teams kind of understood what they were trying to do, and maybe their new players weren't really accustomed to how the zone really works. But usually around January, February, Tulsa's playing pretty good basketball because they understand our league, and there's a lot of new guys that don't understand what's going to hit them, and by the time they understand, the game is over. So they play really hard, they're well coached, but that zone is really the biggest thing that helps them kind of push out on teams.
For you guys to have, a couple conference games, but then get this long little kind of mini break for 5 full days off or whatever it was between games, how important is that for you guys with such a young team?
Well, it's important for a couple reasons. Because we have a young team and it gives us more chance to get more work, but we have little knick-knack injuries that are going on that guys can kind of heal. So this break came at a proper time for us, for sure.
What's
Which
the best
assistant
way to
got the
attack
scout on
that
this
zone?
one?
Well, you can't do
Generally
one-on-one.
speaking.
You gotta move the ball for sure. You gotta set screens. You gotta run your offense, and you just can't go one on five. You gotta drive to make a play for your teammate, because most of the times they're gonna converge on you, and you gotta be ready to make and be able to make the next pass, because they get their hands very active for deflections, and that's what really shocked me last year with our team. I've seen a ton of zones, but they probably have one of the better zones in the country.
Which assistant got the scout for this?
Mike Miller has a scout for this one.
What's your take on just what's going on with college basketball in general, with the topsy-turvy nature of it?
I think what's really happening is that there are a lot of teams, especially a lot of mid-major to low majors, that have a lot of seniors and a lot of juniors, and most of these top teams have freshmen. And when you're dealing with freshmen, you don't know what you're going to get. And these upsets are upsets because of the names of the teams, but really when you look at the rosters, they're mainly seniors and grad transfers of that nature, so it makes sense.
When you look at Tulsa specifically, and Memphis playing at Tulsa has been very, very difficult,
Mhm.
no matter what kind of team the Tigers have had. What makes this team different, do you think, and how difficult will it be to try to get that W up there?
Well, it'll be very difficult because, young guys don't understand. They're thinking Tulsa, they're thinking easy win, they don't have any named players, no McDonald's All-Americans, guys they've never heard of playing, but what they do is they bought in because they want their respect. And that zone is, like I said, it's unlike any other. So when you understand what the zone brings to the table and how they're very active and how they box out every time, that's things that most colleges don't do. They don't buy into sprinting back, being active and boxing out, contesting shots and boxing out, and that's what they do every possession.
Is it like a 3-2 or a 1-2-2?
It goes from a 1-2, 1-1, half court, back to a 3-2, and sometimes flatten out to a 2-3 depending on who's in the corner. So they mix it up and they do it really well.
In a
You mentioned
situation,
about, go ahead, Judge.
sorry, in a situation like this, do you study, they've beaten Houston,
Mhm.
do you study like maybe that game film more?
I have studied the Houston game more than I've studied the Cincinnati game at Cincinnati, because Cincinnati kind of got out in transition. You can get stops to get out in transition, then you beat the zone. But if you get in the zone, the teams that have had the most success are the teams that move the basketball, get in the paint, and make the right decisions. And they're shooting pretty decent percentage from three.
You mentioned about some teams having older players, seniors, and grad transfers. And last game, Leicester was able to get into Cumberland's head a lot during the game.
Yep.
About just the freshmen and the younger players you have and their confidence to not be intimidated by playing older.
Yeah, I think that with Lester specifically, he's a guy that went to post-grad. So he got a chance to leave high school and go to post-grad and play against some older kids for like a year. But he's so competitive, and he takes the challenge. He's just that guy that's gonna, no matter how good you're supposed to be or how good you are. I mean, he's our reigning conference player of the year. Lester was gonna take the challenge, and I was shocked that Cumberland allowed him to get to him mentally, but I'm glad he did.
Is that something you look for when you go to recruit players, or is that just like an automatic byproduct of the other things?
Well, I think we saw that in Lester, his toughness, along with his outside shooting, and that's what you want. You want to have guys on the team that you don't have to pump up every single day to get going. He's self-motivated.
Do you have a favorite lineup at this point, or is it like naming your favorite kid?
It's I like our small lineup. There's no knock on Malcolm being out or Isaiah being out. But when Precious is at the 5 and DJ is at the 4, we're pretty tough. Because Lester can play 3s and 4s on defense, and we can switch everything without a problem. And Precious can play 1 through 5. DJ can guard 1 through 5. So it makes it easier for us when we can switch everything.
How much do you look forward to kind of that challenge whenever you play a tough zone? Obviously, ball control and ball movement is so important. How much of a do you guys look forward to that test with some of the turnover struggles you guys
Well,
have?
for me, what I've seen, we play better in zone because we have to move the basketball. The ball has to move. We can't go one-on-one because the paint is packed. So we're making better decisions and getting more assists in the games when we play against zone. So a lot of times I welcome zone, but this one is a little more difficult because they're so active. But it's a challenge that we take. And as a guard, a former guard that had to be in that position, I take the challenge on teaching these young guys on how to really handle it.
It's a fun time to be a basketball fan in Memphis with the Grizzlies and you guys going. How much do you pay attention to what the Grizzlies are doing, and have you had a chance to sort of build a relationship with Jolly yet?
Yeah, I pay a lot of attention to it. I'm a basketball fan. Obviously, I want the hometown to do great. Understanding that they're on a win streak, and I keep in touch with John's father a lot. And I pay attention to what John does on a nightly basis. He's a special player. They have a special team, a special nucleus, and with Jaron and those guys. So I think that you know, everything is starting to point towards the right direction. Obviously needing a couple more pieces moving forward, but right now it's very exciting to see what they're doing.
You know, John has been compared to you by a lot of people
Yeah, he's not
as far as
tall.
the way that his game is structured. I mean, you were bigger and all, but I mean, the passes that he makes and those kind of
Yeah,
things.
no, when I saw him in college, it was like, this kid's pretty good. But then when I saw him in person at the Grizzlies game, I was like, he's special. He does have great vision. He, obviously, his athleticism is his best attribute because nobody can keep him in front. And he has vision as well to add on to that. And he has a very high IQ. So definitely, you know, loving what I'm seeing from him.
You
Which
think he
game was
might
that?
have a little John in the
Which
future?
game was that?
I can't even remember what game. You put me on the spot. What game was I at?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if it was the Lakers or one of those games, but I was like, man, this kid is just special.
Sure.
No, it wasn't the Lakers. It was the game against RJ Hampton and those guys.
Okay.
That team came to
Gotcha.
town, and because I wanted to see RJ play against Ja.
Right.
I knew that'd be a tough task, and it was.
You think there might be a little John in the future from the way he's playing? As far as
My
you
RJ?
had the little penny.
Oh, you know what? Honestly, you don't put anything past that. He's on the way to being a superstar, for sure. If he keeps winning, keep doing what he does, being highlighted on ESPN every night, for sure.
Speaking of Lil Penny, we haven't heard an update on his workout status anytime we made.
He's still working.
Close to a comeback.
I don't know about close to a comeback, but I'm sure it's going to be a comeback.
Last question.
Oh, I often ask you about the sticking to the game plan. Is there anything that the Tulsa team may do that you worry may cause you guys to deter from the game plan?
For us
Just the zone?
defensively, I don't think there's anything they can do. But offensively, for us against that zone, we're going to have to keep probing all night and seeing what works. And I've studied enough tape to know what to look for. We just got to hope that our team is able to pull it off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manny.
Thank you, Coach.